Several weeks ago at the LA Auto Show, Hyundai gave me 20 minutes to interview their senior manager of product planning at Hyundai USA. We conducted this interview inside one of the newly launched Ioniq 9s. We covered a wide range of topics from Ioniq 5 to the new Ioniq 9. Some of the questions in here were provided by viewers when I reached out to you guys on Facebook and here on YouTube. There were a few questions that Andre wasn't 100% sure on, so I did send emails to Hyundai's PR team, and they did get back to me. You will see those as captions in the video. So I want to give a huge shout out to Hyundai and their PR team for allowing me this access. It was a crazy scene there on the show floor at the LA Auto Show. I'm certainly hoping to get some more interviews in the future because there's a lot more questions that I would love to talk to people about, and more specifically getting into the engineering side of things. So let's go ahead and jump into the interview. Hey everybody, I'm here with Andre Rovinovich. You are?
Senior Manager of Product Planning for Hyundai.
Okay, very good. So I've got a lot of questions. I know we're limited on time. So is this car, the 2025 Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 9, are they utilizing a new ICCU with the NACS charge port now? Or is it an iteration of the existing ICCU?
Yeah, my understanding is an iteration of the existing. Obviously, there was some change like down on the end of it, right, to switch out to the port, but I think the majority of it is the carryover from the current cars, the 5 and the 6.
Has anything changed in this amount in the last few months in regard to, I know another recall just came out for ICCUs a couple days ago. What has been done to kind of prevent this thing we've been seeing from happening in these newer cars?
I don't know. I need to.
Okay.
I need to do some digging. Yeah. Some of the products. Definitely. I mean, it's things like that. Obviously, we can through PR we can get you some feedback on it. But yeah, I definitely don't know.
Yeah, I would love to hear some more about what's being done to mitigate that, because I personally haven't had the problem with my car, but the research shows that it is.
Yeah, happening. I've had one of my lease 5s. I've had to get the ICC replaced.
Really? Oh, so you drive a 5?
I've been driving 5s for the last 3 years.
Okay, so you've had every model year?
Yeah, we change every year. Well, our employee leases change every 7-8 months, basically.
So are you going to get the 2025?
Yeah, I literally just got another 24.
Okay.
And so I wish I could have gotten them to let me wait for the 25s, but I'll probably switch.
I'm trading in my 2022 for a 2025. For a
25,
so.
yeah. I was trying to convince my wife to go to the end, but she didn't. What she calls the video game seats, she wasn't a big fan of.
I don't actually, being a big guy, I didn't find the seats too uncomfortable. So I did spend some time in the EV6 GT, and those seats were extremely uncomfortable for me.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was glad to see they were
the 5
different.
for us was more, sorry, I didn't mean to completely derail, but it's more like for us, like a lot of times sharing the cars, for her, the fact that there's a manual seat on the 5N and having to not deal with it every time getting in and out of the car. She wasn't too big of a fan.
Right. Any real surprises in terms of feedback you've gotten on these cars in the last day?
For the 9?
Yeah. For the 9 and the new 5?
Yeah, I mean, the feedback's been really great so far on the 9. I think the 9 surprised a lot of people because it's the kind of car that when you look at it, visually you would think space is not going to be impressive, right? And it actually is, right? I mean, competitive, if you look at, things like headroom, legroom, it's actually better than some of the cars that, let's say from other brands, are a little more boxy, right? So I think it's surprising the kind of balance that we're able to get with this car, keeping the aero design on the outside, maximize AER, and still get awesome interior space.
Oh yeah, it is cavernous in here, to say the least. Question in regard to charge port location. So I was just over the new EV6 that's also being built in the US. They moved the charge port to the driver's side. And I see for 2025 Ioniq 5, it's still on the passenger side. Yeah. Was there any consideration about moving it for the 2025 model year?
No, I mean, it obviously be extremely expensive, I think, like in a mid-cycle refresh to swap the location. We've been looking, obviously, there's all kinds of research. We've obviously been doing our own research on port location. It's still difficult, right? Because being a global car, right? I think the preference in a lot of markets is still right rear, right? And I think even in the U.S. market, it depends, right? If you look at like urban, like city charging, right, it still makes sense to be on the curbside. So, yeah, it's interesting. I know there's a lot of debate on which side, especially with now being access to NACS, like how that's going to work. But
and V4 superchargers are going to eliminate that problem.
Yeah, so longer cables. Yeah.
I posted a photo of the updated EV6 to my Facebook group, and people were like, I don't like it on that side because of curbside charging.
Yeah, exactly.
They say I want to be able to plug in right there. So that's definitely a consideration. I never really thought about it that way.
I've been here a lot of cities that are starting to convert even like old parking meters and telephone or street lights, right? Obviously they have electrical, capability behind them, right? They'd be able to convert to level 2.
Right. It'd be so easy to do that. Yeah. So are we going to see a 2025 Ioniq 5 N-Line in the U.S., or is the XRT what North America is getting?
XRT is the plan for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was a little bummed by that. I love the look of the N line.
Yeah,
I love the N.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
don't
yeah.
want all that power because I'm going to get into trouble.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of my audience was really excited about the N line,
N-line,
and they were
yeah,
really sad to see that it wasn't announced when the XRT came out.
Keep giving us feedback. You never know, but yeah, I think for now XRT is.
Yeah, and I understand like with a new factory and everything, you guys you don't want to have 50 million SKUs of the same car. And kind of in that same vein, do you guys ever plan on offering option packages on any of the trims in the cars, or is that something that Hyundai's just trying to move away from?
I think it's been something we've done. I shouldn't say we've never done, but we've done in the past on some Hyundai models, right? Have like optional packages, but I think for the most part, I think our focus now is maintaining just the trim strategy.
Okay.
I think obviously depending on the model, depending on the volume of the model, it could make sense to have a package, but I think for the most part, to try to minimize complexity, I think in general, I think trims still make the most sense. I think it gives, because what it does is it gives like not only minimizes dispersion amongst dealers, right, on potentially a lower volume car, but it actually allows us to actually offer more, right? Because when you limit the number of options, right, you can actually theoretically bring options that are in higher trims down lower and have more volume, right? So otherwise, if you're only doing packages, right, now you have less mix of that package.
Right.
So it actually, in a way, I think it's actually a benefit to the customer not having packages in some ways.
Okay. So I see for 2025 Ioniq 5, you guys have brought a lot of the stuff back that was removed for the 2024 model year. Was that from customer feedback, or what?
Yeah.
Was it just cost cutting to get that 2024 cheaper?
No, there was a few things going on in the background as to why that happened. But yeah, for 2025, since we're able to essentially, being a product enhancement facelift, mid-cycle change, we're able to obviously go through again the EPA recertification. Okay. Right, so we were able to bring some of the content back. So there were some things during the life cycle previous in 24 model year that caused us to have to remove some of the content and now bring it back. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Does the XRT have a skid plate or something on the bottom now that it's kind of off-road focused?
No, it's still pretty similar to the current carryover car on the.
Is there any fear about people going off-roading?
No, I mean I think even like on normal, personally I would say even on normal production regular Ioniq 5 non-XRT, right, driving on the freeway, you would still need a certain level of good protection to the battery, right? Like you could run into a piece of metal on the freeway, you never know, right, to impact. So I think the level of capability that's in the car already, I think for us we felt it was still acceptable and good enough for the XRT model.
Okay, vehicle to home and vehicle to grid. I know you guys announced for Ioniq 9 it's going to be capable of that. I know there's been talk between Hyundai and Kia for the last couple years about Wallbox using that Quasar 2. Is this going to be specific to a certain company like Wallbox? Are you guys working with them? Or is this going to be just a general standard now that any device is going to be able to utilize?
Capabilities there, obviously, as long as you have a dual or I guess a two-way home level 2 charger. Right. We don't have anything announced yet as far as like what we're going to do for like Hyundai Home, for example. But but I think theoretically, if anybody has any kind of any level or bi-directional charger, they should be able to use it. Okay. So the car from start production will have the capability built in.
Okay, so is there specific hardware necessary to do that, or would that be able to be ported back onto older Ioniqs?
There's specific hardware in the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you're saying like, so for example, like an older like previous model year 5, for example. Yeah, it'd have to be something done like back into the car itself.
Okay, gotcha. Will you guys ever put larger frunks in the rear-wheel drive cars in the U.S.? I know that's kind of you have to have the button for escaping. Has that just been kicked down the road because they don't want to go through the certification?
The 9 actually has, the rear-wheel drive is a bigger frunk.
Does it?
Yeah. Okay. I forget, I can give you the exact numbers, but I think it's like something like 80 liters. It's actually a substantially decent size frunk for the rear-wheel drive. And it's actually interesting, even this one, the all-wheel drive, even though it's a little bit smaller, still has that kind of emergency child button.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Does the 2025 Ioniq 5 have it or no?
Good question. No, I haven't looked. I think this gets it to just enough size that regulation-wise it needs to have the button.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
I don't know, personally I don't know what the regulation is, but I think there's probably like a threshold that once it's a certain size, it requires the button.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Heat pumps. I didn't hear any mention of the Ioniq 9 heat pump. Is that all trims are going to come with it?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about Ioniq 5? Because I've heard mixed things.
Yeah.
Does the rear-wheel drive Ioniq 5 have a heat pump? Or is it a heat pump only used for battery cooling and warming?
I need to double check. I think on 25 model year, it was only on the all-wheel drive models.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't know.
I think that's how believe 24 was the same, actually. I don't think that's actually changed for 25.
Okay. Has that been a consideration about adding it to rear-wheel drives, or is it just because you assume people buying rear-wheel drives are south of the Mason-Dixon
I think
line,
that was part of the strategy, I think, from the beginning of the car, right? It's obviously, especially with, I should say, any car, whether it's EV or not, right? You have trade-offs on cost and component for the car. So I think that was kind of like you said, it's kind of a decision based on the type of car being all-wheel drive in the markets that it makes sense to have it there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I drive a rear-wheel drive Ioniq 6, and it heats well, it cools well. I've got no problem. Range loss hasn't been an issue for me.
Hasn't been
Okay. I thought it was interesting that you guys added for the Ioniq 5 a lot more matte colors for the 2025. Was that just feedback was really good on the matte colors, or what was the drive for that? Because it's got to be a lot more work to do those.
Yeah, I think feedback was really good. I think to us, I think matte colors are always interesting, right? Because it's a way to kind of keep. Obviously, this was a product mid-change lifecycle or mid-cycle change, right? For 25, it was a chance to bring new colors we didn't have before. Now the car being built in Georgia, right? We're having our own. I shouldn't say our own facility, but our own kind of choice and selection of which colors we brought from the global palette to the U.S. Right? It kind of opened up a little bit more capability.
Right.
So I think it was. I personally, I think our matte colors are great. Even though obviously still got to take a certain level of care with them. Mm-hmm. I drive a lot of our pre-production cars, and I drive them through regular car washes. The matte does extremely well on the scratch-o-matic car washes. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to see the longevity. I think a lot of people are a little bit fearful, right, of like how well they last, but I think they do really well no matter typically what you do with it. It's an interesting space, right? Because I think colors, it's a really interesting way to differentiate. I think not a lot of brands do matte colors, or at least as accessible as we do.
Right.
I think that's probably the biggest thing is our price premium for that matte is not that much.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you look at some of the, especially on the premium side, you're talking like 10, 20 grand for matte paint. So I think it's something I think we're going to keep doing. I think on Ioniq 9 you see there's a couple here that are matte that we'll have in the U.S. market.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't see the paint swatches yet for it, but I specifically really like the matte white color.
Yeah.
I would consider getting my 2025 in that.
Yeah.
What kind of visibility do you have to software in terms of updates for existing cars? Is that kind of out of your wheelhouse?
Yeah, I mean, we'll usually be part of the loop as to what's coming and how, especially if it's not just like behind the scene type of updates, if actually changing functionality and changing some of the usability elements of the car.
Yep.
I think we've done, for the most part, 1 to 2 a year. We may eventually increase the number of updates per year, potentially. I don't know yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I think, and especially on a car like now, especially with Ioniq 9, right, that we have, we're going to start doing like feature on demand, right? So we're going to go beyond just the kind of, once or twice a year updates across the board. We'll have more capability to kind of add some customization.
Right. So will Gen 5W still continue to get updates even though we've moved on to CCNC now? Or is it kind of going to just start being the main focus here, CCNC?
CCNC is obviously going to be the focus, but there's still going to be updates to 5 wide. It's obviously still in a lot of volume out there, right, of cars. And I think even from the beginning, right, like our plan was always to do at least 3 years of map updates, right, for the cars, right? So that comes along with not just the maps, but if there's any kind of, other enhancements part of it too.
Okay. Yeah. That brings me perfectly into another question, which is, how are the maps in the navigation system updated as new chargers are added? Is that through a server, or is that through those updates?
It's through those updates. But I believe I need to confirm. Let me before I misspeak. But because if you have an active BlueLink subscription, right, you're getting obviously part of that POI database updated, and I think also part of that would be obviously the station maps.
Okay.
But I'll confirm for you.
Okay, because that's just like there's so many stations coming out right now, especially Ion is about to go live pretty soon. So it just really needs to be in there.
Yeah, for sure. It needs to be pretty much live, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Is this doing active cooling before if you precondition for DC fast charging?
Let me get back to you. I believe so.
Okay.
But I'll confirm.
Because that's not something, because I had heard rumors that it was going to be an update to existing Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6, because I think when it launched, it wasn't doing that. It was just doing heating. So I kind of have lost track of where that stands.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I do love how deep you're getting to these. It's good. No, I mean, it's good. It's actually, I love discussion chats like this because it kind of forced me to actually the things I need to know about the products that we work on. Because a lot of times, obviously we're not on the engineering side, product planning side.
Right.
We do know a good level of some of the technical elements of the car.
Right.
But especially with EVs, right? There's just
so
much
many systems.
newness to it, right? So many systems and so much like that people. I've been doing product planning for like 15 years, and there's so many things about the car that are totally different, right? In the world of EVs, that even I don't know, just a lot of learning, I guess, just in general.
I get questions from my audience all the time, and I'm like, I'll get back to you.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Exactly. I have no idea.
Does this have iPedal 3?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm really excited.
And also
about
also for the US, I believe on this car we'll be able to use map data, which we didn't have before. Right,
for auto mode?
For US, for auto mode.
Yeah, that's been my one complaint about auto mode is I can't.
Because for US it was camera only, right, up until now. And Korea always had map data pushed into it as well. Yeah, and I think for US this car will have map data will be part of it.
Okay. Yeah. How far out do you think we are from 800-volt architecture being cheap enough that it can begin getting implemented in things like Kona and the cheaper EVs? Are we a long way away from that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky, right? Because Kona obviously has the advantages of being a shared product, right, with ICE. And there's a lot of positives to that, right, to be able to do a derivative.
Yeah.
I think in the end, obviously, as much as range or batteries get more efficient and range gets better, charging speed is still going to be hugely important, right? So I think at some point, I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating, but I think at some point all cars will need to have a certain level of ultra high speed capability.
Right.
But I think for now, Kona has a good role in where it's at.
Certainly does. IMA platform. Are we going to see that in the next few years? I know that's been kind of being talked about. Is the next gen Ioniq 5 going to possibly be on IMA?
We'll wait and see.
Too soon to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
My standard product planning response: we don't discuss future products. Just kidding.
Has any focus been put on brake light activation? Because that's one of my biggest complaints with the car is the way the brake lights activate.
Yeah.
Going down even just a slight slope, they're just on.
Yeah.
And it drives people behind you crazy. I get passed, I get honked at. Has that been talked about, the way it's being done?
I know it's interesting, right? Because I don't know what the kind of regulation or spec, right? Because I know there's some OEMs are more, lenient on how often it goes on. Others are a little bit more stricter.
Right.
I think we sometimes, a lot of things, as you know, with Hyundai, a lot of things we do with safety related wise, we're always a little bit more conservative, I think, which is not a bad thing. But I can see in that case being sometimes kind of a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. This ever going to get hands-off driving, do you think? Is this going to be capable from production? I can see you got the little camera.
Yeah, that's the driver attention, right, for infrared. For production, we're going to be still level 2.
Okay.
Obviously, we'll have to see what happens down the line. And if you talk to Simon, part of the design intent for this car, right, having the kind of sensor cassette that the design side calls it, is the idea that theoretically we could update sensors, right, without having to change a whole lot of the design of the car.
Right. Okay. Very cool. My audience would kill me if I didn't ask this question. Do you have any idea if the older cars are ever going to get wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay? I have no idea how often I am asked this question.
Yeah, it's something we're looking at.
Okay. Are they? Because I just saw some Genesis car, the GV60 just got it, but that has the CCIC system.
Yeah, exactly.
So it must have different hardware.
Yeah, it's different hardware. Yeah, my understanding is some of the, at least on the Genesis side, the 5 Premium generation multimedia platform has the Wi-Fi direct capability for wireless Android. I don't know if 5Y does, but
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Andre, thank you for chatting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'll email you for those.
If you got more questions. For sure. Yeah. I love it. Like I said, I like being pushed on my knowledge of the car. So
yeah.
A text or email if you need more.
Okay.
Get it to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right.
Cool.
Thank you, Andre.
All right. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you again to Andre for allowing me some time to chat with him. I had a lot of fun asking all these kind of really nerdy questions. He seemed to enjoy them too. So I look forward to my next interview with somebody from Hyundai. I hope you guys found this interview insightful. I was really limited on time, so I kind of had to push through to get as many questions in as possible. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Check out my store at ioniqguy.com for accessories for your Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis EV. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.